How long does it take you to do your weekly planning? Now, I'm asking you that question because many people have got in touch with me to say that it's taking them between an hour, 2 hours, sometimes even 4 hours just to do a weekly planning session. The thing is, it should never take you that long. What it should take you is between 30 and 40 minutes. But that actually depends on if you're doing it the right way. The issue here is that you're probably not planning the week if it's taking you 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 hours to do. What you're likely to be doing is reviewing the week. Now that is something that's completely different to planning the week. When you're reviewing the week, you're looking backwards. You're looking at the week that's just gone by. When you're planning the week, you're looking ahead. You're looking forward. And the way to do it is actually quite simple, but it does mean that you need to have your system optimized so that you can do it in 30 to 40 minutes. Let's get this a little bit straight. Reviewing projects, reviewing tasks, and so on and so forth is not actually planning. So to me, it's a completely different task. Now, when would you review your projects? Well, the ideal time to review your projects is when you're working on your projects. Now, if you're following the time sector system, you will have all your project details in a project note. There you can see your deadlines, your milestones, all the communications related to that project. You can also have the next actions in that. If you want to use a GTD phrase, you can have your next actions listed in there so that your task manager only tells you work on this project. Now, hopefully you will have time blocks for working on your projects because projects are important and they do need to be time needs to be set aside for them. So essentially what you're doing is when you work on a project, before you finish, you give yourself 30 seconds or 2 minutes or however long you want to do to review where the project is, what you have done, and what the next action is. And then the next step is actually very simple. The next step is to add the details into your master projects list. Now, what is a master projects list? Well, basically, it's a table you create in your Notes app. So the one you see here has been created in Evernote, and I just absolutely love it. Now, I'm very fortunate that I've only got about a week left of 2024. That's in terms of a working week, and therefore all my projects for this year are now completed. What I've got in here are projects that I'm going to be working on in the next quarter, i.e. Q1 of 2025. I have no idea what projects I'm going to be working on in quarter 2, quarter 3 or quarter 4. I do know some of them. But these are the projects that need to be at the forefront of my mind. So these are the ones that are in my master projects list. Now, as I develop the year, as I start adding more projects, because I inevitably will, I will add them below this table because I don't really need to see them. I just need to be aware of them. The projects in this particular list are there. They are active or will be active from the 3rd of January. And that's where I need to be putting my attention. So what you'll see here is the name of the project. I also have the deadline in there. I have the next action. What do I need to do next? I also have some notes in case I need to add some notes. And then I have a link, a backlink as it's called, to the actual project note. So I can get to it very quickly. Now, having a table like this summarizing my projects means I don't have to go into each individual project when I'm doing my weekly planning session. All I really need to do is look at the deadline, essentially. So the January deadlines are going to be the most important on the 3rd of January. And then decide, when am I going to work on these projects? That's what it really comes down to. It doesn't really matter how much stuff I've got to do. I've got the deadline. I know how much time I've got. The question is, where am I going to find the time to work on these projects? And that's where my calendar will come in, and that's the weekly planning. I can decide, okay, I need 4 hours for project work this week. I can then make sure I've got the time protected on my calendar, and then I can decide on the day or the night before when I do my planning which project I'm going to work on. It's a really simple system, but what it does is it avoids the need for me to go through all these projects every time I do a weekly planning session. That is what's eating up so much of your time. So how do you define a project? Well, I'm not of the school that says any item that requires 2 or more steps is a project. That is a ridiculous situation to me. I did used to follow that guideline, and I found I had between 30 and 150 projects just to be ongoing at any one time. Absolutely ridiculous. There's no way I had the time available to be able to go through all those projects every single week. It was taking me hours to do a weekly planning or weekly review, as it's called. To me, a project is something that's going to take at least 3 or 4 weeks to do and has multiple different steps and is probably going to need some collaboration with either one of my team members or indeed a family member or somebody I'm collaborating with. It's a much bigger beast than just a few tasks that I need to do over a period of time. For instance, I'm about to travel to Europe to visit my family for the Christmas holidays. And that by the definition of GTD is a project. It's multiple steps. I need to book flights. I need to make sure we can get to the airport. So do I need to book bus fares or train tickets and everything else? Do I need hotels? There's a lot of stuff that goes into this. But it's not a project. It's just simply, okay, this week I need to book my flights. Once I know my flights, I then know what time I'm arriving at airports, and I can then decide if we need to book hotels as well. Also, I need to then decide what time we'll be able to get through immigration and customs so that we can get a bus and get to the other side of Ireland where we're going. But that's not a project. It's just a task. I need to book my flights, I need to set the dates, and then we're off. That's it. Now, my packing list, I've already got a packing list in my task manager, in my notes app, so I don't need to start creating more packing lists or anything else like that. I already have a template for that. I've already created a note which tells me if I need to remember some additional things. But that's it. It's not a project. It's just a book flights, book hotel, book bus or train or whatever. Simple, really quite simple. I don't need to go through the whole process of building out a big project for something like that. I'm just not of that school. I do not believe in that. It's just a task. Now, deadlines, if you're trying to manage your deadlines in your task manager, so you have start and due dates, yeah, your weekly planning is going to take a long time. Most people have well over 300 or 400 tasks in their task manager. If you're using start and due dates, you've got to go through those because you need to see where your deadlines are. For me, deadlines go on my calendar. They're in red. They're in the all day section of my calendar. All I need to do is just scroll across to see where my deadlines are. And you can see here, I can see my January deadlines. They are there. They're standing in front of me. When I do my weekly planning, I am looking ahead for the rest of the month, well, usually 3 or 4 weeks in my calendar to see if I have any deadlines coming up. It's a 60-second task, and if I'm really enjoying myself, it's a 2-minute task, but it's not a 2-hour task. It's really, really quite simple. Your weekly planning is just about that. What's going to happen in the next 7 days? That's it. You don't need to be going through all your projects if you're using a master projects list. By all means, have a look at your master projects list to see if there's any deadlines coming up. If you like, I am duplicating my deadlines, but they are deadlines. They are very important. They're in my calendar. They're also on the master projects list. I can see from the master projects list what needs to happen next. And if there's anything I need to be aware of, I can put that in the notes section. If I'm not sure about where a project is, sure, I can just click on the project note, go into it and just double check that I am up to date where things are. Now, I know there's lots of other things that people may do in a weekly review, and that's fine. If that's something that you like to do, don't change it. Continue to do it. One of the things I like to do is to just go through all the other little bits of running a business, make sure everything's in the right place. So make sure the sales is in the right place. Make sure that all my YouTube videos have been posted, because I'm posting like 3 or 4 videos a week, and some get missed and go, oh, I need to post that video. And then I can add that to the weekly plan to make sure that the videos are posted. So there are some reviewing going, but the thing that really slows people down is when they start confusing a weekly planning session with reviewing all their projects, reviewing all their tasks, and reviewing everything that's happened in the past instead of looking at the future, the next 7 days. That's what really matters when you're doing the weekly planning session. Now, for you, those of you who want to learn where to start with your weekly planning session, I did a video recently on what I call the weekly planning matrix. And the video will just show you and go through you step by step how you can actually put together a solid, strong weekly planning session. And that video is up there.